is a presentation of one of the political events and the history of America within the period of 1980 and 2000. And it is the President Clinton Monica Lewinsky scandal that became the highest predicament in President Bill Clinton's political life. It made so many people call him a liar, and it nearly marred his political ambition and career. He said he had no improper relations with the woman called Monica Lewinsky. Eventually, it was found out that something happened. He apologized. He was impeached by the House, led by Newt Gingrich, and he was exonerated by the Senate. And so he continued his work as the President of America. This presentation will have the document of the House showing his impeachment and the document of the Senate showing his exoneration. It will also show the President's apology to Americans. It will show the interview on from Newt Gingrich accusing President Clinton of lying to the whole people of America, and that it was a perjury. Himself, when it was found out that he had an affair, he resigned. And so it becomes a serious political jogging to say, how was it that some people resigned as a result of some extramarital affair, but President Clinton did not. And he fought on. The wife defended him, and eventually the blue dress showed everything because the DNA of President Clinton was found in the blue dress. And so this presentation is just a chronology of that event, the interviews, primary sources from that event, and then the images from that event. So enjoy the clip.
All right, let's talk about something else.
All right.
And I take full responsibility for these questions. When you were Speaker of the House, you criticized President Clinton for having an extramarital affair.
No, I criticized President Clinton for lying under oath in front of a federal judge, committing perjury, which is a felony for which normal people go to jail.
However, at the same time, you were doing exactly the same thing.
But I wasn't. I just pointed out you didn't hear my answer. Look, I've been through two divorces. I've been through two divorces.
Many people think that's hypocritical.
That's right, because they listen to your question and I don't listen to the facts. The fact is I've been through two divorces. I've been deposed both times under oath. Both times I told the truth in the deposition because I know that it is, and I'm not a lawyer, so I know it's a felony. Bill Clinton, who is a lawyer, he's a Yale law school graduate. He knew he was lying under oath. He knew it was perjury. He knew it was a felony. And in fact, he lost his license to practice law in Arkansas as part of the deal.
I understand, and you understand that, but people think that's hypocritical to criticize President Clinton for doing the same thing that you were doing at the same time.
Okay, there's some place here where there's a mental synapse missing. I didn't do the same thing. I have never lied under oath. I have never committed perjury. I have never been involved in a felony. He was. I mean, I had one of his closest friends come to see me, and he said to me, you know, lots of people have done what he did. And I said, that's right, but they didn't lie under oath about it.
Okay,
And the guy looked at me and said, well, you're right, that's a felony, and that's a real problem.
One more question about this. Your wife, your ex-wife, Marianne, said that you proposed to her to have an open marriage, but you blamed the media for posing the question. Isn't that a fair question about your character?
Sure, and the answer is it's not true. We offered several witnesses to ABC who said it was not true. ABC did not want any of the witnesses.
But you blame the media. You blame the media for...
I blame the media for 2 days.
That's the kind of question that we have to ask, Mr. Gingrich. You know that.
Well, have I blamed you for asking? No. But let me explain. ABC did a one-sided story, wanted no rebuttal, wanted to run it 2 nights before a primary, and we fought with them for several days over it and just said, look, give us equal time, okay? Because it's a lie. It's not true. Second, the CNN commentator decided to make it the first question on a national presidential debate. And I thought to myself, we got unemployment, we have immigration, we have Afghanistan, we have the price of energy, we have housing problems. And these guys think this kind of trash ought to be the first question of a national presidential debate? And by the way, the audience agreed with me entirely.
And then she told you, save this dress.
Yes.
Listen to this tape.
I don't trust the people around him, and I just want you to have that for you. Put it in a baggie, you put it in a Ziploc bag. What for, though? I don't know, Monica. It's just this nagging, awful feeling I have in the back of my head.
You gave the dress to your mother. What kind of a woman saves a dress?
There have been a lot of things that have been said about me, my mother, and my family that are not true, and that is one of them. My mom did not know about this dress until the rest of the world first heard of this dress. And it was, I think, a few weeks into this nightmare, and it was on the TV, and she turned to me and she said, what is this about this dress? Is this one of these crazy things that they keep talking about? And I looked at her and I said, well, and she said, well, where is it? And I said, in your apartment in New York. And she just looked at me, and we were both so paralyzed with fear, and I didn't have immunity yet, and I was terrified of the way I was being watched, how I was being monitored. I didn't know, and I thought, okay, I could wash this, I could destroy this. I knew at that point, I knew that was obstruction of justice, and I was in enough trouble already.
Ken Starr's people didn't know you had this dress. Why did you turn it over to them?
Because I had to. Getting and keeping my immunity became very important to me, and I needed to take care of myself and my family. No one else was worried about me.
Did you feel you had to then tell the truth about absolutely everything, including this dress?
You bet. And I did.
Good evening. This afternoon in this room, from this chair, I testified before the Office of Independent Counsel and the grand jury. I answered their questions truthfully, including questions about my private life, questions no American citizen would ever want to answer. Still, I must take complete responsibility for all my actions, both public and private. And that is why I am speaking to you tonight. As you know, in a deposition in January, I was asked questions about my relationship with Monica Lewinsky. While my answers were legally accurate, I did not volunteer information. Indeed, I did have a relationship with Ms. Lewinsky that was not appropriate. In fact, it was wrong. It constituted a critical lapse in judgment and a personal failure on my part for which I am solely and completely responsible. But I told the grand jury today, and I say to you now, that at no time did I ask anyone to lie, to hide or destroy evidence, or to take any other unlawful action. I know that my public comments and my silence about this matter gave a false impression. I misled people, including even my wife. I deeply regret that. I can only tell you I was motivated by many factors. First, by a desire to protect myself from the embarrassment of my own conduct. I was also very concerned about protecting my family. The fact that these questions were being asked in a politically inspired lawsuit, which has since been dismissed, was a consideration too. In addition, I had real and serious concerns about an independent counsel investigation that began with private business dealings 20 years ago. Dealings, I might add, about which an independent federal agency found no evidence of any wrongdoing by me or my wife over 2 years ago. The independent counsel investigation moved on to my staff and friends, then into my private life, and now the investigation itself is under investigation. This has gone on too long, cost too much, and hurt too many innocent people. Now this matter is between me, the two people I love most, my wife and our daughter, and our God. I must put it right, and I am prepared to do whatever it takes to do so. Nothing is more important to me personally, but it is private, and I intend to reclaim my family life for my family. It's nobody's business but ours. Even presidents have private lives. It is time to stop the pursuit of personal destruction and the prying into private lives and get on with our national life. Our country has been distracted by this matter for too long, and I take my responsibility for my part in all of this. That is all I can do. Now it is time, in fact, it is past time to move on. We have important work to do, real opportunities to seize, real problems to solve, real security matters to face. And so tonight, I ask you to turn away from the spectacle of the past 7 months, to repair the fabric of our national discourse, and to return our attention to all the challenges and all the promise of the next American century. Thank you for watching, and good night.
Shaping her life. The Chicago girl who became a star of Yale Law School, the transformation into a political wife of a charismatic candidate for governor of Arkansas.
It's not an image question so much as a priority question.
And then her riveting and mystifying resolve in crisis after crisis. She says she was just living a lesson from her mother, who had been abandoned as a child, worked as a maid and a nanny, but never yielded to the cracks of her hard life while holding the family together. On a table, the book her mother was reading the day she died, bookmarkers still in place. And right here, the table where she says a Secretary of State would come home and tell her mother about the stresses of life. As we sit together, an old stress has returned. An essay in a magazine making headlines, and political opponents warning they think the topic is still fair game.
Monica Lewinsky is back in the news.
Well, she's perfectly free to do that. She is, in my view, an American who gets to express herself however she chooses. But that's, not something that I spent a lot of time thinking about.
Really?
Really. Really, yeah. I mean, I wrote about it in my book, Living History. I dealt with it at the time. I have moved on, and that's how I see, my life and my future.
You're not looking at me thinking, here she is asking these questions.
No, because
again.
I knew you would. I knew you'd have to. I mean, it's something in the news. You have every right to ask, and I have every right to tell you how I feel.
Did you call her a narcissistic Looney Tune?
I am not going to comment on what I did or did not say back in the late 90s.
Those words surfaced recently in notes from years ago written down by her late friend, Diane Blair. For her part, Lewinsky writes that her life was overwhelmed by ridicule.
She has said she has lived all of these years as a punchline. Is there anything you would say to her? about her life?
Well, I would wish her well. I hope that she is able to, you know, think about her future and construct a life that she finds meaning and satisfaction in.
How are you different than you were then?
Well, I think the 8 years of the presidency taught me a lot. And then my 8 years in the Senate. I've tried to become a deeper, more understanding, more open, more grateful person as I've gone through these last 20 years. Because I don't think we need more political combat in our country.
Would you say vast right-wing conspiracy again?
Is this vast right-wing conspiracy that has been conspiring against my husband since the day he announced for president?
I probably would not, because I think that it became you know, an excuse for not looking at what was clearly a concerted political effort against the Clinton administration, just as we have seen it against the Obama administration.
So from this vantage point, a lesson for a younger generation about the choice she made back then?
Do what is necessary to be resilient. You know, life is filled with disappointments. And, you know, I've had a blessed life. I mean, sure, I've had disappointments and setbacks and all the rest of it, and it's all played out in public and for the second half of my life. But everybody does. I respect anyone who, when they're knocked down, gets back up. I mean, it's really about just that. And I learned that from my mother, who had a really horrible childhood and was so mistreated and neglected and abused and could have become a whiner, a quitter on life. And she didn't. She kept coming back. And she told me, she said, you know, you can be knocked down 8 times, 10 times, 100 times. What matters is whether you get back up.
I went to retrieve a photo I had seen on one of her tables, a couple who met in the Yale Law Library. She introduced herself, saying,
If you're going to keep looking at me and I'm going to keep looking back, we at least ought to know each other, and I'm Hillary Rodham.
And what's your name? I couldn't remember my name.
We have watched her defend him.
I'm sitting here because I love him and I respect him and I honor what he's been through and what we've been through together.
And then becomes Secretary of State with him there at her side.
I am so grateful to him for a lifetime of all kinds of experiences.
Somebody said, forgiveness is releasing a prisoner and discovering the prisoner was yourself.
I am 100% in the camp that says forgiveness is mostly about the forgiver. I know too many people, having now lived as long as I have, who can never get over it. Forgiveness is a way of opening up the doors again and moving forward, whether it's a personal life or a national life.
Back to that photo from the table of a girl in a plain cotton dress on her wedding day.
We were poor college professors. We got married in our house, and I bought the dress off the rack the night before, and we had a friend give us a reception. It was wonderful.
Is this the happiest time in your marriage?
We've had a lot of happy times. We started off, you know, a conversation all those years ago at Yale Law School, and
40.
Yeah, more. Oh my gosh, so many years ago. It's never stopped, and we make each other laugh. We support each other. It's really another one of my blessings.
But as we said, it is also a target for the political opposition. A magazine cover once called it the Bill Factor. Republican Senator Rand Paul made it clear he will use the past in any race for 2016.
There is no excuse for that.
Republican Rand Paul said it's fair game. It's fair game to talk about Monica Lewinsky, that it's fair game to talk about how bosses treat people.
You know, he can talk about whatever he wants to talk about. And if he decides to run, he'll be fair game too for everybody.